Hey everyone, welcome to Module 3, and I hope you guys are getting into the swing of things here in our third week, I guess, of the semester. So we have provided each other with our introductions. We all have started to get to know each other a little bit better. We've got a little bit of an introduction into the text, and hopefully you all are finding that it's an easy read. It might be review some of the information, but overall I really enjoyed this text, again, like I said before, because it provides you with a great foundation as you continue to develop and hone your skills as a budding counselor. So today and this week we are going to be focusing on attending and empathy skills. And again, if you're paying attention to that triangle that Ivy and Zelquit put out in their text, so we're at the very bottom, we're at the base, and we're really starting to practice these things, right? So we have chapter 3 for this module. You'll notice some of the resources for instructors that just recently came out this year were PowerPoints. I'm going to post the provided PowerPoints so that you have them as a reference. I don't feel like it benefits me to withhold that type of information, and I know that a lot of people learn in different ways. Some of you may learn better reading on an e-text or handwritten notes or actual textbook with highlighting, like through these lectures, whatever way you learn the best. I want to provide you with the resources that I have at my disposal. So you'll see moving forward that some of the material will have information from those resources, the instructor resources that are provided to me. In addition to that, I'm going to provide my own lecture materials that I always have historically in this class. So you'll have a folder with lecture materials where you found me today, hello, and then a couple other documents that I think are fantastic for this week. One is a little article about nonverbal communication, a little bit of a blurb about attending behavior and what that actually means. And I understand some of these terms are going to be new to you, and they're very important, obviously, because you're going to be, you're learning a whole set of new terminology in this program. Some of it, again, you may have heard before in the past, but really we're going to be digging deep into what each of these things means and what that looks like for you as a counselor sitting across from a client down the road. The top 10 basic counseling skills document, there are some pronouns within that document that I don't that have not yet been up to date, but it's not a bad document. I think it's great. In fact, I think you should print it out and keep it with you for the remainder of your career, at least until the remainder of the semester, because it really provides you with both an overview of what these attending skills really are. In addition to that, so kind of there's the basic definitions of what it is to be empathetic, what it means to listen. And I'm not talking about just, listening without intention, okay, or being sympathetic, because sympathy is not empathy. And I promise you, if you ever start to display a good amount of sympathy towards a client, oh, I'm so sorry this has happened to you, oh, I know exactly how you feel, oh, here's my life story about this or that, they will shut down, and that will really inhibit that therapeutic relationship if they actually come back to see you again. So there are these top 10 basic counseling skills. These are foundational. You have to have these in order to progress and to develop those relationships with clients that are necessary for meaningful work to be done. Unconditional positive regard is a term that, again, you'll hear quite regularly. It's associated with person-centered counseling, but that's really allowing our clients to come to us as they are, the people that they are, in whatever space that they're in, whatever place in life that they're in, whatever stage of life that they may be in, and having acceptance of who they are as another human being, having an acceptance of their history, their background, their belief systems, who they are as a person, and being able to mitigate our own beliefs and values, and the expression of those, I should say, the expression of our own beliefs and values, so that we can provide a space for our clients where they feel comfortable enough to share and work with us. Concreteness, keeping things, specific, not abstract. Again, a lot of these things, are glorified in, what we might see on TV or in the media about, somebody working as a counselor or a therapist. But when it comes to working with other people, clients will read right through all that BS and they will call you out on it. And if they, if you're using words and verbiage that is, flowy and unnecessary, they're probably going to call you out on it and say, just talk to me like I'm a regular person. Open-ended questions, again, I think I mentioned this last week, those are one of the hardest things to grasp as a new counselor, being able to retrain your brain to ask questions in a different way. Asking closed-ended question comes naturally, asking open-ended questions takes some work and practice. Self-disclosure, there's a time and place for self-disclosure. I am not the type of person, even right off the get-go with you all, that I'm going to say there is never appropriate for you to self-disclose. Self-disclosure, there's a way that you should go about doing it, and it should be meaningful, and there should be a goal at the end of the day for self-disclosing. And so we'll work on that as we go through the semester and what that actually might look like. Interpretation, being able to provide a little bit of information about, what the client might mean, the meaning behind things. I think that interpretation comes a little bit later in your journey, adequate and effective interpretation. So, don't be too hard on yourself if that one takes a little bit more time to practice. Information giving, removing obstacles to change. It is important to provide our clients. Sometimes we kind of teeter on the line of being an educator and providing them with information, especially if we're working with individuals with substance use disorders, or if we are working with a newly diagnosed person who may not be, fully aware of what it means to have whatever mental health condition they might have, what the statistics are on that. So sometimes there's a little bit of education, but we never want to be, standing on a high horse, kind of preaching to our clients, that they should or should not be doing something. I feel like I skipped over one because I know paraphrasing was in there. Summarization and paraphrasing, those are providing active, reflective, summarizations and paraphrases allows our clients to know that we're listening, that we are actually practicing those active listening skills. We are attending to what our clients are saying. So within the little 3 slides that I've got for you, listening is something that you all should start practicing now. And again, I'm not talking about just listening how you might have thought listening would look a week ago, for instance. But it's not just a matter of hearing the client. It involves tracking their verbal cues, tone, inflection, being able to detect differences in emotions within their voices, looking at body language and studying it, facial expressions. Whenever we are attending appropriately to our client, we are showing them that we are there with them in the moment, and that, we are listening to what they have to say and processing it. So a big part of listening when it comes to that counselor space is stopping your brain from trying to answer a question or solve a problem while your client is still talking to you. That is the natural thing for us to do. If you are, and again, start practicing this. Practice this with your friends, with your spouse, significant others. Practice it. There's nothing unethical about you practicing these micro skills early on. You're not counselors. You're not going to be, parading out there as a counselor right now, but you can be practicing these things. And I promise you, when you start to practice them, you'll see a change in how those that you were talking with respond to you, and it's really fun. It's quite fun to see that these things work, in real life. So try to practice when you're talking with somebody else, even about the weather or whatever it might be, school, politics, religion, science, the latest reality TV series, I don't care. But whenever you're talking with somebody, make sure you're listening, actually listening to them, the words that they're saying from start to finish, and then pausing, taking a second whenever they're done speaking, so that you're able to take that moment and process what has been said, and then be able to respond to them in a way that shows them that you've heard every single word that they've said. And doing that will, again, allow the person you might be practicing with, and down the road a client, they'll be able to tell that we are there in the moment and that we're present and that we haven't mentally checked out. So again, trying to not develop that response while somebody else is talking. It's hard. It's really hard. It's a hard thing to practice and learn, but once you, it's a skill that you have to continue working on throughout your career, being able to effectively listen and attend to our clients. Communication skills are key. On my slide 3, I put a really, really old, I will acknowledge that, a nonverbal communication article link, or reference to a very old article. But communication is key when it comes to counseling. It always has been. Again, the 3 V's and the B, and that those are going to be important for you to remember throughout the rest of the semester and to not forget them as you move on in this program. But we're paying attention to visuals, we're making eye contact, we're watching our voice and how we're speaking to our clients and how they're speaking to us. We are attending to our body language. We're making sure that we are offering clients a warm and welcome type of environment. For me, early on, this was really difficult for me because I am that type of person that just naturally likes to cross my arms, cross my legs, kind of curl up. And so it has absolutely nothing to do personally with how I might be perceiving somebody who is talking with me. But the way that that is seen by my clients is different. And so I would always have to remember to uncross my arms, to, uncross my legs. Facial expressions were one thing I also had to work on, early on. So, there are these things that you may not realize that you are doing, that you have to become more self-aware of how you're coming off to others. And again, if you're practicing these things, you can ask the person you're practicing with, hey, what do you think about me? Am I sitting too close? Am I sitting too far away? Am I making too much eye contact or not enough eye contact? I mean, certainly our clients don't want us to just sit there and stare at them and not blink. It always makes me think of the Seinfeld episode with the close talker. We're sitting an appropriate length away from our clients, and providing them with enough personal space that they feel comfortable in our presence. So I do like to include some information about microskills and people with disabilities because I think it's an important part of our program, obviously, as rehabilitation counselors. It's important to be mindful of things that may impact a person with a disability's ability to seek out services. People with disabilities are largely underrepresented when it comes to mental health services, and that does not mean that they do not have mental health diagnoses. So if it's eye contact, your voice, your body language, verbal tracking, just be mindful. The person that you're working with may have a visual impairment and may need material to be provided in accessible formats. They may be using a service dog or an interpreter, and you need to know how to appropriately interact and engage whenever there is that other individual or dog or whatever it might be in the room with you. Again, being mindful of your body language and your position, and be mindful of your office space. Is your office space accessible? Can your client, if they're using, let's say, a mobility device, or if they have a service dog, or if they have an interpreter, do you have the space to accommodate that? Can they, move around freely within your office space, or do you need to have some type of modification or possibly meet them in a different area? And, again, other things, I'm like a broken record when it comes to letting you all know that silence is okay. Silence is another thing that I want you to start practicing now. I want you to start practicing listening to those that are speaking to you, reflecting in meaningful ways, watching your body language, and practicing silence. Silence is very difficult to get used to. It feels very awkward and unnatural. I found with the influx of Zoom meetings and Zoom role plays and client interaction on Zoom, that virtual space silence can be even more awkward, but it does not take away from the potential work that can be done during periods of silence. So start practicing that. It's just sitting there and allowing somebody to internally process and reflect on what information they have shared with you. So with all of that was a pretty short little lecture there, 15 minutes. I'm trying to keep it at. The major assignment for this week, you're going to be watching a video on Alexander Street, which you may have to register for an account, but it's all through the library, and so that should not be an issue. But the the video you're going to be watching is a short clip, a little bit of the 2 hour long video. You can watch it all for sure, but you do not have to. But looking at basic attending skills and what, you know, in this role play, what is being done well, what is not being done well, you know, your opinion of the interaction between the counselor and the client. And that's what your discussion post will be on this week as well. So keep up the good work on the discussions. Everybody's doing great, and I will check in on those a little bit later this week. And I hope everyone is doing okay. I'm recording this right before the hurricane is supposed to hit in West Virginia. So please stay safe, everyone. And if your power goes out, if you know, flooding happens, whatever, please, you know, keep us informed so that we're aware if you're unable to access the class. Okay. All right. See you all later.